Hey folks, MasakoX here. From the bizarre and yet inspiring minds of the Roundtable livestreams came such a surreal and yet wholesome scenario that the likes of Caulifla and Gohan were switched by some cosmic entity out in the dragon world, who was clearly having a bit of a slow day in the office. Their essence is Caulifla and Gohan's going to different universes than they were supposed to, resulting in new futures for the pair of them. Caulifla, now raised in Universe 7 as the daughter of Goku and Chi-Chi. What were you imbibing when you did this, Masako? Well, only a tall glass of April Fools, that's what. Thanks to this little loophole of ours, we can do stories like this that would never happen in the main timeline. In the last part, Ginyu had tried to take over Goku's body, only to then be trapped in Caulifla's body when she valiantly tried to save her father's life, not wanting him to bite it for a second time, because remember, the first time she was kind of responsible. This led to a very interesting stalemate where Ginyu tried to reason with the little girl, now in his original body. But the girl was very much in the hot seat, and using this position of power to slowly remove Ginyu's horns. Uh-oh. Maybe Chi-Chi had a point about her. All of this banter and posturing got Frieza's attention, and ultimately led to the two instigators switching back, and Ginyu being sent off to the corner to think about what he did, or didn't do. With Yamcha being here, and him thinking about very, very convenient little loopholes in the Dragon World, he struck upon the idea of wishing away the ability of Frieza to transform, all of this having heard about it from Vegeta. Now, this wish didn't mean that Frieza wasn't physically able to. It meant that what Porunga did was put some kind of cerebral inhibitor getting in the way of him being able to do so. But would it matter really? Nope. We wouldn't be around to try it. But what to do at the state of Caulifla? Had she gone too far? Well, I think a trip to Yardrat will sort that out. On their way to said world, with King Kai guiding them, Goku and Caulifla had to take stock as to what had happened on Namek. Sure, they had come out of it in one piece, thanks to Yamcha's quick thinking primarily, and then Goku finishing off the rest. But what had also transpired was that Caulifla was far too reckless and savage. He was aware of her desire to please him and show her prowess on the battlefield, because that's exactly what she wanted to do, fight alongside her papa. Their training together getting to Namek demonstrated her capability. She had potential. But when in a crisis, she flipped a switch. She didn't show mercy, and fully revealed to everyone that she had a beastly side toward her that was, for want of a better word, horrifying. She was only 6 years old, and she could act like that? Think about what she could do when she was all grown up. Maybe she might become a delinquent, folks. With their powers increasing dramatically, Goku knew that Chi-Chi, now, would never be able to reign in their daughter again. Why would she listen to her mother, since said daughter could easily overpower her? Instead, it was his duty to take responsibility and do whatever it took to fix things. Caulifla could sense that something was wrong. The mood was not quite right. Where was the upbeat and peppy attitude of her dad? He was brooding, serious, cautious. Had she done something to anger him?
Papa? What's wrong? Am I in trouble?
Goku chose his words carefully.
Not exactly, Caulifla. You did great out there, by standing your ground, but...
She tilted her head, nervous at what was coming after the but.
But maybe your mother was right. You need to realize boundaries, what you can and cannot do.
She knew it. She had crossed a line.
What? I saved your life, Papa! Aren't you glad of that? This is what I get?
She scowled at him sourly.
Of course I am!
He raised his voice slightly.
But what I saw gave me chills. You didn't have to break his horns off like that. That's not how he raised you to behave. What you did was cruel.
Caulifla's eyes widened.
Cruel?
Goku nodded.
You can't act that way. Not even to your enemies. You have to give them a chance. Otherwise, you'll be just like Vegeta. Do you want to be like Vegeta?
That was the way to get through to her, since she viewed the prince as very uncool. She shook her head frantically, not wanting that.
Good. Where we're going will help you clear your head and focus your passion elsewhere. Will it make me stronger? I don't know, but it can't hurt to find out.
She wasn't sure whether she liked this vague summation as to where they were going, but she had disappointed her father seemingly, and thusly, she wanted to make up for it. maybe this Yardrat wouldn't be so bad. When they got there, Pibara was ready to meet them, having been briefed by King Kai telepathically about what was going on. He was already on the case in regards to Caulifla's predicament. Despite Yardratians not being particularly street smart out there in the wider galaxy, since they had imposed a self-determined exile, meaning that they chose not to leave their planet, Pibara's mind was very aware of Caulifla's troubled state. In fact, when he got a closer read on her, he felt that she was, indeed, very odd. It puzzles me that your essence doesn't seem to match with what I'm familiar with. Like, you're from an entirely different reality. Both Goku and Caulifla were very confused by this observation. What did it mean? But the latter interpreted this as, oh, this meant that, oh, she was unique, unlike anyone else, that she was special. Nay, you folks out there, don't you dare tell the truth. Pibara also mistook this as a personality quirk for the moment, but felt that, despite her intense actions in aiding Frieza's dispatching, she did do a good service in assisting. They could maybe work on her character. Caulifla listened intently to the powers they could learn whilst here, and already knew what she would want to do once she had mastered the basic meditation training, and of course instant transmission. But she chose to keep it a secret for the moment. She didn't want her father to know, she wanted it to be a surprise. Sure, that first part sounded dull as ditchwater, the meditation, but she would be willing to do it if it meant she got to do cool stuff later. After all, she had some basic exposure to meditation thanks to Uncle Pickle.
I'll do my best, Grandpibara.
Pibara looked confused, but Goku waved it aside.
Oh, she does that. Her calling you Grampy means she really respects you.
The sage mulled over this chestnut and chose to take it as a compliment. Strange, but endearing, he muttered to himself. Sure enough, like we saw in the manga with Vegeta, Goku and Caulifla undertook the basic meditation training, now donning the Yardratian attire. Thanks to her yearning for cool and interesting powers, Caulifla took this training very seriously. But she was still aware of her father's concern as to her attitude and behaviour. She still could not make any promises in regards to modifying her general outlook on life. To be anything else she thought would be wrong to herself. She couldn't bear that thought any longer, and she hoped that this new training would maybe distract her father and not make him probe any more as to her character and persona. She didn't want to change, but fortunately, this was a correct supposition. Goku indeed was distracted, immersing himself in this training more than the original time when he was on there. In said original, it's implied that Goku had done the basic meditation and instant transmission training, then he got bored and decided to head back home. Here though, both of the Sons got stuck into things and finished the meditation training in a little under 60 days, both of them focused. After that, Goku undertook the mastered copy ability, the more complete multiform, and Caulifla, well, one day, when Goku was taking a nap, he could feel a distant rumbling emanating from the ground beneath his bed. He opened his eyes and, indeed, the room was shaking. He walked over to the window to see what the ruckus might be about, only to see his daughter, now 50 feet tall, waving back at him.
Hey, Papa! I did it!
Goku had to rub his eyes to make sure he was seeing things right.
Collie, you're huge!
She nodded.
I meant to tell ya, I chose Gigantism as my next technique. Isn't this cool? I can be like Uncle Pickle. I wonder how big a giant or monkey will be.
Her massive eyes sparkled with delight at the thought of a 500-foot-tall great ape. Goku gulped.
Oh boy, how am I gonna explain it to her mother?
But hey, he thought, she had been acting way more like her usual self here, instead of the cold and vicious soul that he saw on Namek, so good job? We'll leave these two for now, because out in space, Vegeta was on a mission to find Ginyu and stop him. He had personal beef with this guy, and also wanted to see what Cold's reaction might be now that he would find out that his son had been offed. He had been under their boot nearly all his life, Vegeta, and he wanted to watch Cold's life turn upside down, him looking pained, and Ginyu having to grovel on his knees just to stay alive. Oh, that would be a sight he would not pass up. Having disguised himself with the powerful cloak of mystery, like Bardock demonstrated in the Super manga, it's like the Dragon Ball equivalent of Clark Kent's glasses. Vegeta finds his way to Planet 1 and slinks his way into the throne room. Sure enough, Cold was displeased at the news. Forgive me, sire. By the time I understood what was wrong, it was too late.
I could not turn back to save him. Really? Tell me, what kind of enemy could do such a thing to my boy? I don't understand either, my liege. According to my scouter the last time I checked, Lord Frieza's power did not increase throughout the entire encounter he had with those ruffians. He did not transform once.
Cole looked at the captain and could sense that at least this news was truthful. Why would he lie? And it was also kind of logical.
Arrogant to the end. I knew this day would come. Somebody would either outclass him or find a way to deceive him. Or perhaps that legend of his was true.
Legend, sire? Cole turned his nose up at Ginyu.
None of your business, Ginyu. Now gather as much information as you can and find out where those blasted ne'er-do-wells hailed from. When you find out, we shall pay them a little visit. Understood?
Ginyu bowed deeply and ran off. Vegeta was disappointed not to see Ginyu's head being struck off. And then Cole's idea of a legend stuck with him. It struck a chord with the prince.
The legendary Super Saiyan?
Don't be daft, Cole.
As if Kakarot or his runt could even come close.
However, he then thought over the situation. In time, Cole would find out about Earth, and they would be left vulnerable. He had good favor with Kakarot at the moment, and that meant he could get what he wanted. He could train, act like their hero in their absence. And besides, he had unfinished business with Caulifla. Despite not wanting her adulation exactly, he couldn't leave that alone entirely. He wanted to prove to her that she was wrong to be so dismissive of him. He, the Prince of all Saiyans. I know you thought that, he was just going to leave them to rot, but right now his pride got in the way. With that, he headed to Earth with a slight change of heart to warn them of Frieza's father's probable discovery of their planet. At least here, in this timeline, they had a little more preparation since Frieza wasn't around to tell his daddy exactly where the Earthlings came from. Nevertheless, they would find out. They always did. We fast forward a couple of years from Frieza's demise, age 764. Caulifla is now almost 8 years old, and getting the hang of the gigantism technique alongside instant transmission. With the former, she can now make herself any size up to at least 200 feet. Sadly though, since Yardrat's moon wasn't as bright as Earth's, she couldn't practice this with her monkey form. There wasn't enough Blutz waves being generated. But that was something she would try later when they got home, and out of her mother's sight. Good question. When would they go home, she thought. Chi-Chi had been kept informed as to their progression by King Kai, and had managed to get to chat with them both on occasion, knowing that they were okay. In their time apart, Chi-Chi had started to come to terms with their lot in life, and had calmed down at least a little bit in regards to how Caulifla should behave. She had backed off, and Caulifla appreciated that. However, their latest conversation was halted when Chi-Chi alerted them both that King Cold had suddenly landed on Earth.
King Cold? Who's that, Mama?
Her mother informed them, and this caused the daughter to frantically run off and tell her father.
Papa, Frieza's got a dad and he's heading for Earth!
Goku was naturally shocked and said to them that they should get back on their ship and head home.
Papa, there's no time for that! They're already there!
Goku looked seriously at her and then to Pibara.
Sorry, Pibara. Looks like we gotta go right now.
Pibara nodded, Goku thanking him for his help, and the pair of them had to transmit hop their way to Earth since they were still relatively new to this whole instant transmission spiel, having never used it in anger to this degree. By the time they did get to Earth, both of them were expected to see chaos, but instead, they saw the Dragon Team, looking at something. None of them were actually acknowledging Goku and Caulifla's return either. They were too distracted by Cold and... who was that? A guy with lavender hair and a purple jacket staring a giant Frieza clone down. Raditz then came to his senses and realized that, "Brother, niece, you're here! You're late!"
What? What are we late for, Uncle Radish? Sorry, bro. We're not used to our new powers yet, so it took a while. What's going on? Who's that guy?
Raditz shrugged.
No clue, except that he seems to be on our side. He cut through Cold's men just now like they were butter. Even Vegeta wasn't expecting this.
Vegeta? You mean he's here?
Yep. The guy in the pink shirt.
Raditz quietly pointed to the prince wearing his classic shirt. Caulifla couldn't contain herself. She let out a belly laugh, and that caught the prince's attention. He rounded on them, and then realized who had emitted said hysteria.
Damn it. When did they get here?
However, what happened next took everyone's attention back. The boy had powered up. Now, this wasn't your average power-up, not even Kaioken. This was different. This had a golden aura to it. No one had seen this before. His hair had stood up on end, also glowing gold. His power had increased dramatically, at least double that of Kaioken times 20, maybe more. But what took Caulifla by surprise the most was his sword. When he went into battle, this golden warrior and his sword looked amazing. She was in awe throughout the entire exchange. But this awe was nothing like she had for Raditz or Piccolo. This felt different.
Who is this guy? She thought. Why is he making me feel this way?
Then he sliced Cold in two, ending him there and then, before blowing what remained of him up.
I want a sword.
Her eyes were fixated on the lad, even after he had powered down. He turned to the group after having blown up Cold's ship and waved to them. Hey everyone! It's safe to come out! Just then, Ginyu leapt out and was about to shout, "Change now!" But Caulifla spotted him and transmitted over, floating in between the boy and the captain. You! Despite being stronger than her still, he hoped, Caulifla was still a figure that struck fear in him. Stay back! Get away from me! Caulifla reveled in this, gliding over to him.
Oh, surprised to see me? Captain? Nice horns. They knew.
She smiled a devilish smile at the soldier. However, this was all a distraction. Goku then transmitted in and blasted Ginyu away before he could try anything on Caulifla. He and his daughter then high-fived one another before then turning to face the boy.
Yo, said Goku. Thanks for helping us out.
Goku, it's good to see you. And this must be Caulifla. Unaware of his malaprop, Caulifla flew toward him and asked to see his sword. He was confused at this request, but complied. He unsheathed his sword, and she got to handle it with the greatest respect and playfully swung around with it, liking the sensation.
Papa, can I have a sword? I want to learn how to use a sword. Maybe you could ask Yajirobe. He uses a sword.
She was in shock.
Really? The fat guy uses a sword? Why was I not informed?
Goku, I need to talk to you. It's important. Caulifla, do you mind if your dad and I talk in private?
Can I play with your sword until you go?
Okay, he said slowly, and Caulifla did what she was told. The boy then reveals his identity, being Trunks, and that he is from the future. He is here to warn them about the androids who will be arriving here in 3 years' time. This exchange is pretty much similar to the original, including the delivery of the heart medication. What differs though is that Trunks then asks Goku something before he leaves. Oh yeah, can you go Super Saiyan yet, Goku?
Super... what?
He said bemusedly. Trunks powered up. This. Goku eyed it for a second, pleased to see it up close, and shook his head.
Nope, Kaioken's what I can do.
He powered up to Kaioken, now times 50 thanks to his focus training on Yardrat, and this power-up did turn out to be relatively similar in power output as Super Saiyan, the multiplier, but Trunks looked like he could easily hold this transformation, whereas Goku knew that this boost would not last very long. It had a very finite limit.
What's the difference?
Goku asked. A lot. This is much more sustainable than Kaioken. You should do your best to attain it, Goku. I would teach you, but my time here is short. All I can tell you in the time I have left is that it comes from deep, raw emotion. You gotta really focus on that feeling and let it explode. Knowing you, Goku, you'll figure it out. He smirked before taking his leave. When Trunks departed, his time machine popping out of sight, the Dragon team then decided what they were going to do. Goku asked Vegeta what his plans would be now that he was going to be sticking around for a while, and he said that in the time they had been away, he had shacked up at Capsule Corp, or where Bulma had built him a gravity chamber for him to train in. They had gotten to know each other in that time too. Perhaps you and your runt can show me what you've learnt, if anything. Caulifla stuck her tongue out.
As if we would rely on you, loser.
Vegeta grimaced. Why you? Goku calmed the situation down and said if they had time they would stop on by. For now though, the team began their training regimen across the planet, ready for whatever may befall them in the future. Caulifla hoping very much to see that future boy one more time. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this idea where Goku and Caulifla got to train together, do check out this story here where Goku and Gohan did the same thing. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!